What's going on, y'all boys? Welcome back to another episode of Ray and Kyle Everything Sports Podcast. Today we're going to be looking forward to the first round of the playoffs and looking forward towards all the way to the Super Bowl. And we're going to talk about which player has the most to gain for going through these playoffs. So, Kyle, who do you have?
My first guy is a little bit of a surprise because this is more so a positive because even if he doesn't lose a winner or anything, he's not going to be affected that much. But I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. Now, if he somehow pulls off this Super Bowl, he's going to have 3 Super Bowls at the age of 28, 2 MVPs, and if they win, realistically, he's going to be the Super Bowl MVP. So, Tom Brady, mind you this, he won his third ring at 27, right? So he's going to be a little older than Tom Brady, but Tom Brady didn't win his fourth ring until 37. So the odds of Mahomes going almost 10 years without winning another ring is very slim to none. So if he somehow wins this ring with the lack of skill position they have and everything, I don't see a way where he doesn't win another ring here soon after that, because this is as weak as I've ever seen the Chiefs. Honestly, they're very good on defense. I will give them that. But as far as the offense goes, they don't really scare anybody. They just don't. You know, there's been rumors about if you score 21 points, you can beat the Chiefs. If you score half of 42, you wouldn't beat the Chiefs. A couple years ago. So just the fact that people are talking down on them, I mean, they're almost kind of flying under the radar because their lack of talent. So I feel like if he somehow wins the Super Bowl this year, with as good as Lamar's playing, with as stacked as the 49ers are looking, and as great as the Cowboys are playing, and all these great teams, as hot as the Bills are, I mean, I don't see how, because he's already a for sure Hall of Famer, but I think he's for sure leaping into that GOAT to be. I think he's already there, but people who hate on Mahomes or don't acknowledge his greatness, if he somehow pulls this off, there's no way you can't have him in the debate now. So I think Mahomes is one of the guys that has the most to gain in this playoffs.
Yeah, I can actually agree with that. That's not one of my two guys, but I can see that, especially when you're looking as far as when you're talking about the statistics of him versus Brady, because honestly the two that you're putting in the GOAT debate. So you look and you're saying, oh, well, years past he's had a stacked team. He's had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and everybody thinks that Reed's such a good coach. But now you're looking, and now he doesn't have Tyreek. Now he doesn't really have a bona fide. He has wide receivers. He has a good wide receiver one, but he has guys that he can't really trust. He's got guys that he throws the ball, hits him in the face mask, and then hits the ground. So, I mean, and then you got Travis Kelce, who's not having his greatest year for whatever reason, getting older, Taylor Swift, whatever. But then you look, now you're looking, I mean, this team has been going under the radar, and then now you look, and they're still the 3 seed. I mean, it's not like this team's the 7th seed and sneaking into the wild card, you know what I'm saying? This team still was guaranteed playoffs a couple weeks ago, and now they're sitting at the 3 seed, won their division again for how many years in a row, like 6 or 7 years in a row, something crazy. And so now you're looking, now he has another shot at it. So, and there's one guy you don't bet against in the playoffs, and that's Patrick Mahomes. So you look at him just adding to his resume. And then now you're looking, now he's got another chance to add to his resume with by far, I would say, the worst team that he's had in the past couple of years, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So now you're looking, if he can do that with this team, you definitely are going to have to put him in the conversation. But for me, my biggest guy, I actually have 2, but my first is going to have to be Dak Prescott. I just feel like he came into the league. He was really hyped. He had a great first year for a couple of years. And then recently, he's just not this year, but before this year, last 2 years, last 3 years, he's just been going downhill. The turnovers, the production. Now, don't get me wrong, he's been injury prone, and his turnovers, just not all have been his fault, but some of them have been bad ones, and they've come in bad times. And so everybody's been down on Dak. They've been looking down on Dak, and Dak didn't deserve the $50 million he got, and they overpaid Dak. And then now you look, and Dak's in the playoffs. Dak's won the NFC East. Dak is the 2 seed. And then you look, and he's actually got a good, I mean, he's had a good defense, but now you look, and he's actually running this offense. Last year everybody was like, oh, Dallas will go as far as the defense will take them. And now everybody's like, let's see what Dak can do. So now Dak has a chance to go in and get rid of the narrative of, oh, the Cowboys choking the playoffs. If Dak can make a run to the Super Bowl and then maybe even win the Super Bowl, he's going to bona fide himself a max contract for the rest of his career. I mean, you're looking last year and you were thinking, oh, if Dak has another year like that, he's probably going to get cut, much less get another contract like he did. And then now you're looking and you're like, oh, Dak just put up an MVP caliber year, and then he can go and beat the narrative of the Cowboys choking the playoffs, make it to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl with the team he's got around him. There are a lot of young guys. I don't know how long they'll be able to keep him, not just because of the age, but because everybody's going to be demanding that big contract. But you have this team this year. You're looking every year, all year they've been like, oh, this is the team. This is the new Cowboys team. If he can prove that right, expect Dak to really, really prove the doubters wrong over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott, he no doubt has a lot to gain because, especially just being in that organization, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, the spotlight's already massive. Everything he does, good or bad, is going to get overblown, and we're going to overreact to whatever he does. So if this man takes a team who hadn't won a Super Bowl in 25 plus years, they hadn't been to the NFC Championship game in 25 plus years. If he does that and he takes that team, I mean, because if they win, if they are going to win a Super Bowl, it's going to be on his shoulders. It is. Their defense is good, but their defense tends to not make timely stops. But if this man can take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl and win, I mean, it'll be a huge step. I mean, he's going to take a big step in the direction of being a Hall of Famer. And he's playing the best football of his career. He is. He went from playing the worst football of his career last year to now doing a complete 180 and playing the best of his career. I mean, he's almost leading the league in almost all the numbers non-rushing wise. I mean, he's playing ridiculous. He got his interceptions down by 6 or 7. He's got his yards up by 500 plus. I mean, this guy's playing ridiculously well. Now, it doesn't matter in the regular season, though. We've seen him have good regular seasons. The Cowboys have had 3 straight 12 plus win seasons. So we've seen this story before. But it usually pans out in one way in disappointment. So at least the NFC Championship game, at least. But if he takes the Super Bowl and somehow wins, I mean, that's history, and he'll go down in the books for real. Now, for my second guy, and this guy has a lot to gain, and he also has a lot to lose. I'm going with Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson, he only has one playoff game. And in those 4 playoff games he's played, he has a 3-5 TD to INT ratio, and he has a 4-10 touchdown to turnover ratio. So he just doesn't play great football. He doesn't in the playoffs. He doesn't play great football. That's why I still am hesitant to go all in on the Ravens, and that's why they're not my Super Bowl pick. And I don't even have them winning their first game because I still don't trust Lamar. I think he's a fantastic regular season player. He reminds me a lot of James Harden. He puts up crazy numbers. He plays extremely well, but when all the chips are pushed to the middle of the table, he folds. And I like the guy. I'm not trying to bash him. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but every time in the biggest moments, in the biggest games, he doesn't play his best football. Whether it's injuries, whether it's turnovers, he just doesn't seem to put his best foot forward. But if this man does win a Super Bowl, I think he's a for sure Hall of Famer. He's going to win the MVP this year. That means he'll have 2 MVPs and have a Super Bowl and probably the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, usually the quarterback wins it unless some crazy receiver has a blow-up game. But if they win, it's going to be him using both his legs and his arm for sure. So if he wins the Super Bowl, he's in the Hall of Fame, no questions about that. A 2-time MVP, a Super Bowl winner and MVP. And, I mean, I'm sure he'll win some more awards, some more Pro Bowls, and he'll be back, I'm sure, if they win. Just getting over this hump would be huge. But if Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl, he'll be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt about that. So I think Lamar, more than Mahomes, has the most to gain, but also the most to lose. Because if he comes out and has another poor performance in the playoffs, that narrative is going to be stamped to him, and I don't see how you overcome that. But I think Lamar has the most to gain for sure.
Then for me, my next guy who has to me, he's the second most to gain, but it's going to be the youngest guy on this list, Brock Purdy. I just feel like Brock Purdy, last year we saw what he did in the regular season, come in, Mr. Irrelevant, having that breakout season like he did. Then he got to the playoffs, and he didn't play bad, but he didn't lead his team like we expected him to, like he did in the regular season. Then you look this year, he started off good, MVP conversation, and then it slowly, just like with the 49ers record and the 49ers team, slowly started getting a little bit of a decline. He's been playing good the last couple of weeks, didn't play last week, but before that he's playing a little bit better. But now you look, and everybody's talking, is Brock Purdy that guy in San Francisco, or is he just a guy in San Francisco? And this is his chance to prove it. Can Brock Purdy go in there? Not because he's not going to be beating every team like he's been in the regular season. He's going to have to go in there. He's going to have to compete with teams because he's going in there against the best of the best now. And week in and week out, he's going to be playing the best of the best, especially since they don't have to play a wild card round. They're going to be playing with the top 4 of the NFC by the time he plays his first playoff game. So then when he plays that game, no matter who he plays, it's going to be a challenge. He's going to have to play. He's not going to be able to blow him out. So when they go in there and I mean, don't get me wrong, he still has CMC, he still has Debo, he still has Ayuk, he still has a great defense, offensive line, but he's going to have to go in there. He's going to have to make those. He can't turn the ball over. He's going to have to go and he's going to have to build drives. He's probably going to have to come back from behind. He's probably going to have to go down late in the fourth quarter and make a game-winning drive that he hasn't done yet. And that's the biggest thing that I think everybody's waiting for is, can Brock Purdy play from behind. And then if he can do that in the biggest moment, on the biggest stages in the playoffs, he'll easily prove himself as being that guy at San Francisco and not just being a guy who's got a lot of talent surrounded around him. So I believe that Brock Purdy has the most to gain, at least second most to gain coming from these playoffs.
Yeah, and I think with him, I think he's playing for a contract. Honestly, I think even if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, if he's not the reason why they don't, if he goes out there and plays extremely well, but things just happen, maybe a fumble here or there, or great offensive play from whoever they play in the playoffs, you know, I think they'll still give him a contract. But I've been right on this all year. Anytime he's asked to do more than what's on the scheme or what's scripted, he tends to fold and not play very well. And I think that's just what's going to happen again. Now, if he does, like you said, if he does take his team to Super Bowl and win, or even just get there, honestly, because if they get there, they're going to have to beat, like you said, the top four coming out of the NFC. So that's still going to be very impressive. And in the playoffs, you don't beat teams by 20 and multiple scores. It's big, crucial, big-time plays, big-time decisions, and just all around, crucial moments in the playoffs that make or break your season. So if he is able to do that, he'll prove me wrong 100% because I don't see any other way they do it without their quarterback playing the best and their quarterback being the difference. I don't think he's a difference maker. But if he gets to the Super Bowl and, God forbid, wins, I'm not sure what else I would say because in the playoffs, your quarterback usually makes the biggest plays at the biggest moments. So I agree with you. Brock Purdy has a lot to gain. He has tens of millions to gain, maybe hundreds even, this postseason because, like I said, if he is able to take them to the Super Bowl and win, he's going to get a huge contract this offseason for sure.
I'll say as well with Brock Purdy, if you look at the 49ers, how they've played all year, and that 49ers roster from offense to defense, special teams, even to head coach, I believe this is the most perfectly set team to win the Super Bowl. And the only reason they won't is because of Brock Purdy. So if he can't lead them there, I think it's going to really, really show a lot and prove a lot of people right. And then I believe if he can, it's going to prove a lot of people right as well because, I believe it's 50-50 at this point. So if Brock Purdy, I believe he'll be the reason they win or that they lose because there's not in a situation to me that he'll be able to sit back, not play his best, turn the ball over, and be able to win the playoffs. But if you look at Brock Purdy, he comes out and plays like he can, and he plays at his best, and he can lead that team with all those numbers around him, I believe they'll win it. So I just believe that no matter who they play, if Brock Purdy's at his best, you know what you're going to get from the other guys. They're pretty consistent, day in and day out. So if Brock Purdy's at his best, you have consistency from the other guys. I believe the 49ers will win it, and Brock Purdy will prove himself.
And what's to your point, this is as good as the team's going to be around him. He's still in that rookie contract, and he's still getting analyzed by the front office. If he can't win with this team, like you said, when is he going to win? They have by far the most stacked roster in the league. And after you get that big contract, you look at Mahomes, you look at Burrow, T. Higgins is about to leave. You look at Josh Allen. You look at these guys who get the big contracts. The team around them starts to get less talented, and they still find ways to win because they're that guy or they're those guys. So, to your point, if he didn't win now, I'm not sure when he'll win.
But that's going to be all for us. Y'all boys make sure to subscribe for all your football and other sports news, and we'll lock with y'all next time.